Hello and welcome, my dear friend. I'm truly glad you're here today, because what you're about to hear is not just a story. It's a reminder of a truth that's been alive inside you all along, waiting for the perfect moment to rise. Sometimes life doesn't knock gently to get your attention. Sometimes it crashes in, throws storms your way, and watches to see if you'll bend or stand tall like a monument forged by fire. There was a time when they thought they knew your ending before you had even begun. Their laughter wasn't light-hearted. It was a dagger, sharpened with arrogance and aimed at your spirit. They strutted around, puffed up with empty confidence, like actors who believed the applause was already theirs. They spoke of your failure as if it were a foregone conclusion, crafting private jokes and smug predictions behind the scenes. But life has a merciless sense of irony when it comes to arrogance. While they celebrated imaginary victories, thinking you were already defeated, something unexpected happened. You didn't fall. You didn't flinch. Instead, you rose, quietly and relentlessly, like the steady tide that wears down the sharpest cliffs over time. They didn't realize that the very storms they hurled at you were forging you into something stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable than they could ever comprehend. Their jeering was loud, but your silence was louder. Each step you took, silent, steady, deliberate, was a hammer striking their illusions, cracking the foundation of their superiority. They expected you to stumble. Instead, you moved forward without fanfare, without needing to shout your worth from rooftops. And in doing so, you revealed the simple truth. Real power does not announce itself. It simply is. Now the mirror has turned. Their snickers have twisted into nervous glances. Their overconfidence, once so blinding, now lies in ruins at their feet. What was once amusement at your expense has become an uncomfortable silence they cannot explain away. They gambled their pride on your collapse and lost everything when you refused to yield. Have you ever noticed how those who laugh the loudest often crumble the fastest when faced with true resilience? It's because arrogance is like a house of cards, one strong gust of reality, and it falls apart. Their arrogance wasn't strength. It was a desperate costume stitched together from insecurity and fear. True confidence moves differently. It doesn't need to wound others to feel tall. It walks quietly, assuredly, knowing its value is not determined by outside applause. They chose mockery. You chose mastery. And look how that choice has aged. They had chances, oh many chances, to choose differently, to rise alongside you, to celebrate your growth instead of ridiculing it. But when arrogance speaks louder than wisdom, even a lifeboat looks like a burden. So they stayed behind, anchored to their false pride, even as your ship set sail toward greatness. You became a living reminder that while the proud may start fast, it's the steady souls who finish strong. Every smirk they wore was an invitation for life itself to humble them. And humble them it has, brutally, beautifully, without a single word needing to be spoken. Life, after all, is the ultimate equalizer. It doesn't matter how loudly someone laughs today if they are destined to weep in silence tomorrow. And you, dear, never needed their validation to write your story. Their opinions were never the ink in your pen. While they wasted their energy weaving false narratives about you, you invested your energy into becoming undeniable. They thought they were spectators to your downfall. They had no idea they were witnesses to your ascension. You didn't just survive their attempts to tear you down, you transcended them. You took every insult, every slight, every backhanded comment, and used it as invisible mortar, brick by unseen brick, to build a future they can't even step foot in. Now, they scramble for explanations. They point fingers at everything but themselves. They mumble excuses to anyone who will listen, desperate to explain how the person they once mocked has eclipsed them completely. But you know the truth, don't you? Their downfall was never because of you. It was because of the weakness hidden behind their roar. You simply revealed it by standing firm in the storm. Have you ever wondered why some people fear the quiet ones the most? It's because true strength, real greatness, doesn't need to announce itself. It just exists, immovable, undeniable, like a mountain against the shallow winds of judgment. And now, my dear friend, your light shines so brightly that it leaves no room for shadows. No matter how tightly they squeeze their eyes shut, they cannot pretend they don't see it. The brilliance of your rise is undeniable, and it reflects their own missed opportunities with a blinding clarity. Every time they encounter your success, it's as if life itself is holding up a mirror, forcing them to confront the places within themselves they chose to abandon. They cannot escape it. They cannot explain it away. The seeds they sowed in arrogance have only harvested regret, while your silent, steady labor has bloomed into a garden of blessings they never believed you were capable of growing. But you believed. You held the vision when no one else could see it. And that, my friend, is the difference between those who merely mock dreams and those who live them. You never needed to scream your worth into the void. Your existence, your perseverance, your very being has been a declaration louder than any words could carry. It's the quiet power of someone who knows exactly who they are without needing to tear anyone else down to prove it. And so here you stand, not just moving forward, but soaring past the very limits they tried to impose on you. The irony is almost poetic. The ones who mocked you are now forced to watch you become everything they secretly feared you could be. Isn't it fascinating how life teaches us? How often the very stones thrown at you become the stepping stones that elevate you? How what was meant to crush you became the pressure that formed the diamond of your character. Let me ask you, have you noticed how heavy their silence has become now? How the laughter has faded, leaving only a hollow echo where their pride once stood? It's not because you fought back with anger or retaliation. It's because you fought forward with faith. You became a storm in your own right. Not the kind that destroys, but the kind that reshapes landscapes. Powerful, cleansing, undeniable. You see, life doesn't play favorites with arrogance. It rewards authenticity, humility, and perseverance, the very qualities you nurtured while they mocked. In the grand theater of life, they chose to play the fool, mistaking noise for significance. You chose to master the art of the climb, step by careful step. And now the view is yours alone to enjoy. You've stepped into a season where your focus is sharper, your energy is more potent, and your calling is undeniable. There is a momentum gathering around you now, a force too strong to resist. They will see it, they will feel it, and they will have no choice but to acknowledge it, even if pride glues their lips shut. But this is no longer about them, is it? As you move forward, do so with the calm certainty of someone who knows their destiny is not up for debate. You have nothing left to prove. Your presence is the proof. So stand tall, my dear friend. Let your light blaze without apology. Let their doubts crumble into dust beneath the weight of your reality. Let your success be so radiant that even those who once wished for your downfall can't help but feel inspired. And this magnificent rise, you deserve it with every fiber of your being. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Today is a quiet return to a part of you that has been waiting, not lost, only resting beneath the years. Long before life taught you to be cautious, there was a time, in the wide-open wonder of your childhood, when you knew who you were without question. And somehow, through all the noise, through all the forgetting, that part of you still lives. That's why you're here. Not by accident, but because some truths refuse to be forgotten. Maybe you remember sitting in rooms where everyone spoke loudly about the future, chasing promotions, chasing approval, chasing a perfectly packaged life. And there you were, not indifferent, but unsatisfied. You could see something beyond what they were reaching for, not because you were rebellious, but because you were wide awake in a world that taught sleepwalking. Have you ever wondered why so many paths laid out for you always felt just a little too narrow? Why the promises that were supposed to excite you, the promises of comfort, safety, predictability, felt strangely hollow instead? It wasn't a flaw, it was a signal. You were wired differently from the beginning. In a society that worshipped sameness, you were carrying the burden and the blessing of seeing more, feeling deeper, dreaming bigger. From an early age, you probably noticed two forces inside you pulling in opposite directions. On one side, the vastness of your dreams. Dreams so big they terrified even you sometimes. Dreams of healing what was broken, of changing the world not for attention, but because your heart couldn't stand to see unnecessary suffering. And on the other side, the discomfort with everything everyone else seemed desperate to chase. The brands, the accolades, the polished image of success that seemed to always require hiding pieces of yourself just to fit in. Neither of these instincts made you easy to categorize. You didn't crave the shallow prizes the world dangled in front of you, and yet you also couldn't pretend to be content with just enough. You were always dancing at the edges of two great truths. You were born for something vast, and you were unwilling to sell your soul to reach what others want. And for that, you were often misunderstood. First in your family, where expectations were whispered at dinner tables and sewn into your conscience before you even had the language to question them. And then by society itself, where fitting into a pre-written mold was praised as maturity. Somewhere along the way, like so many others carrying ancient light inside them, you might have started asking yourself, why can't I just be like everyone else? Why does it hurt to chase what seems to make others happy? But what if the real question was never, why are you different? What if the real question was, how did you survive being so awake in a world so committed to sleeping? Take a moment with that. Really let yourself feel the truth of it. You are not broken for thinking differently, but I know the world tried to convince you of that. You are not lost for craving something more authentic than the marketplace of approval. You were, from the start, designed to be the exception. It's no accident that your dreams didn't shrink to fit the people around you. It's no accident that you sometimes felt exhausted trying to explain yourself to those determined not to understand. You weren't made to chase fabricated dreams. You were made to create reality from truth. And yes, that loneliness you sometimes carried was the price of remembering yourself before anyone else could give you permission. If you've ever felt the crushing weight of wanting to both fit in and break free at the same time, you're not alone. It's the invisible burden of visionaries, of healers, of those born to pull back the veil for others. And if you're resonating with these words, it's not by mistake. Maybe you were meant to hear this today. Maybe it's time to honor the part of you that refused to go numb. It's one thing to feel out of place in a world that rewards sameness. It's another to carry an entire spectrum of wisdom that doesn't seem to fit anywhere at all. You saw how people traded their authenticity for approval, how they sculpted versions of themselves they didn't even like, just to avoid the discomfort of standing alone. And inside you, something rebelled, not loudly, not violently, but quietly, in that unshakable way that truth always does. You couldn't force yourself to move at the world's frantic pace. You couldn't pretend to be seduced by prizes that looked more like cages than rewards. You knew, even if you couldn't always explain it, that real peace isn't something you chase. It's something you return to. And you weren't willing to betray yourself for an illusion of happiness that would evaporate the moment you caught it. But that was only one side of the spectrum. On the other end was a fire so vast, so breathtaking, that it scared even you sometimes. The dreams you carried weren't about small victories. You weren't content to just live quietly, unnoticed, forever hiding your brilliance under the weight of realism. There were days you thought about changing everything, healing systems, rewriting stories, touching lives so deeply that even time itself would have to pause and take notice. It wasn't arrogance, it wasn't delusion. It was the kind of dream that belongs only to those who were born knowing that something within them was older than this world's rules. But what happens when you live in a world, in a family, in a society, that fears both ends of that spectrum? You were taught to downplay both your discontent and your magnificence. Taught to silence the part of you that said, "There must be more," and the part that said, "I could be the one to help bring it." No wonder you sometimes questioned yourself. No wonder you sometimes felt trapped between two impossible choices: shrink yourself to survive, or risk everything to stay true. But my dear friend, you were never meant to erase yourself just to be loved. You were never meant to apologize for seeing what others couldn't. The world may not have been ready for your dreams when you first arrived, but that doesn't mean they were wrong. It simply means you were ahead of your time. And now the time is starting to catch up to you. Now, the world is hungry for authenticity, even if it doesn't always know how to ask for it. Now, the systems you questioned are starting to crack. Now, the craving for something real, something true, is rising in hearts everywhere, and it sounds a lot like the dreams you once tucked away in silence. Maybe you didn't lose your way after all. Maybe you've been carrying the map this whole time. I hope you can feel it. The quiet revolution you've been part of just by staying true to yourself, even when it felt invisible, even when it cost you comfort, even when it meant walking alone. You are not too much for wanting a life that feels real. You're not too naive for believing in a world that could be better. You're exactly what this moment was waiting for. The truth is, you've been creating a new way of being simply by refusing to betray your own soul. And even if you haven't seen all the results yet, even if it still feels like you're standing at the edge of something unseen, trust me when I tell you, the shift is already happening. The world is already bending toward your light. You didn't come here to be understood by everyone. You came here to remember who you are, so that others could remember too. And somehow, despite everything, you've kept that part of you alive. That rare, unbreakable part. For that alone, you deserve to stand taller today. You deserve to breathe deeper. You deserve to smile, not because everything is easy, but because somewhere inside, you finally know. You were never meant to be anyone else but you. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There's something rare about this moment we're sharing right now, not because of anything dramatic or loud, but because of the stillness you're sitting in. That pause you're in, the one that feels like the world is holding its breath. This is where most people lose the plot. But not you. You're still here. You're listening. And that means something far more powerful than you might realize. You see, what you're walking through right now, this pressure, this tightening around your chest, this bizarre stillness that feels like it's echoing too loudly in your spirit, it's not stagnation. It's the precursor to something magnificent cracking open. This moment isn't a waiting room. It's a birthplace. And I'm not saying that for poetic effect. I'm saying that because I feel you, genuinely. And I don't think anyone gives you enough credit for how much grit it takes to not give up when everything around you feels like it's slowing down. And isn't it strange? How silence can sometimes be louder than chaos. You're not broken. You're just stretching, expanding. And that process, oh, it's uncomfortable. It's like trying on a jacket that almost fits, but not quite. You've outgrown something, but the new layer hasn't fully clicked in yet. And here you are, in the in-between. You're no longer a quiet observer. You're becoming the space. And that space can feel like you're suspended over a canyon with no visible bridge beneath your feet. But let me tell you something. The invisible bridge always shows up for people like you. It's not there because you're waiting for it. It's already precursor beneath your feet. You've been through this before, maybe not in the exact same way, but in moments of doubt, when you thought you had nothing left to give, and still, you found a way through. You're the kind of soul that doesn't just weather storms. You absorb them, transmute them. You've been doing it your whole life without even realizing it. That moment when someone told you it wasn't going to work out and you smiled anyway, that was alchemy. That instant you cried in secret but woke up the next morning with a plan, that was transmutation. And if you're tired right now, it's because you've been carrying a frequency that most people couldn't even hold for a minute. But here's the twist that no one talks about. Sometimes the universe waits until your knees are buckling and your voice is cracking to deliver the thing you've been praying for. Why? Because that's when you'll actually receive it. Not with fear or self-doubt, but with full-bodied ownership. Can you feel that subtle difference? You're not just getting the life you asked for. You're becoming the person who can hold it. And yes, I know, when you've been hearing for months that your breakthrough is around the corner, it starts to sound like background noise, like those train announcements in the distance that never seem to stop. But this isn't background noise. This is the clearing before the arrival. What if all this discomfort was your final rehearsal? What if the exhaustion you're feeling isn't a warning sign, but a confirmation that you've almost made it through the hardest part? Let me say something you probably haven't heard enough lately. You're not crazy for holding on. You're not naive. You're not unrealistic. You are intuitive. You are precise. You are tuned into a frequency that the world hasn't fully caught up to yet. And yes, it's frustrating being early to your own evolution. It's exhausting waiting for the world to recognize a version of you that you're still learning to love. But that recognition, it's coming. And it will arrive exactly when you stop grasping for it and start living like it's already yours. So if right now your faith feels like it's made of thread, that's okay. Threads are what hold tapestries together. You don't need to have a rope of certainty. You just need that one fragile string of knowing, and you already have it. Now let's talk about this moment, this gritty, raw, unscripted moment in your life. You might be wondering why things had to feel this intense just before your turning point. Why the emotional volume has been dialed up so loud lately. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Transformation doesn't arrive in a box with a ribbon. It shows up in disguise, usually as restlessness, discomfort, tears that don't make sense, that heavy pressure in your chest that you keep trying to breathe through. That's proof you're on the brink. Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a stage curtain. Behind it is everything you've been asking for. But before that curtain rises, there's a pause, a stillness. The lights dim. Your heart races. And for a split second you think, maybe I'm not ready. But you are. You're just feeling the weight of becoming. And that weight? It means you're doing something real. Let me say this clearly. Your soul did not bring you this far to tease you. If it feels like everything's bubbling to the surface, old fears, insecurities, even old relationships resurfacing, it's not because you're failing. It's because your subconscious knows the old version of you can't come with you where you're going. So it's doing a final sweep saying, are you sure you want to carry this? You're not being haunted by your past. You're being asked to release it completely. And that's hard, that's tender, but it's also sacred. Because when you release something consciously, it can never control you again. And I want to take a moment to remind you of something gentle but profound. Even when you feel like you're unraveling, it's only because a higher pattern is being woven. You're not falling apart. You're reconfiguring. It's a divine sort of disassembly, the kind that makes room for more light to enter. You've survived every version of yourself so far. So why would this be any different? Here's something else to hold on to. Not all movement looks like action. Sometimes the most powerful shifts happen in silence, in stillness. In those moments when you're staring out a window with no words for what you're feeling. Don't let the world's obsession with constant productivity fool you. You are moving, even when you're still. You are growing, even when you're tired. And maybe right now, you're not meant to leap. Maybe you're meant to lean back into trust, to sit with yourself, not as a problem to solve, but as a sacred presence to witness. Have you ever watched a storm roll through the sky? There's a moment right before the downpour when everything goes eerily quiet. That stillness is powerful. It doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is lining up for release. That's where you are, right before the downpour. And this time, the rain doesn't wash you away. It brings you back to life. So if your energy has been shaky, if your confidence has taken a dip, if you've been staring at your reflection and wondering where that fire went, please know, it's not gone. It's recharging. It's recalibrating. It's getting ready to return brighter than ever. Sometimes the quietest chapters end with the loudest miracles. And it's not your job to know exactly how it's going to unfold. It's just your job to stay open to it. To not close the door 5 minutes before the knock. To not shut down just because it's taking longer than expected. Trust that the timing is not off. The timing is precise. You're not late. You're not behind. You're being seasoned, strengthened, perfectly positioned. Let yourself feel the hug in that. Let yourself soften into the knowing that you're not missing your moment. You're maturing into it. And when it comes, it won't feel like some big explosion. It'll feel like clarity, peace, flow. It'll feel like something clicking into place that you didn't even know was out of alignment. It'll feel like coming home to yourself. So breathe deep. You're not failing. You're forging. You're not stuck. You're settling into the shape of your next chapter. And if no one's told you today, I see you. I honor you. And I genuinely believe in where you're going. This isn't the end. This isn't even the middle. This is the moment the page begins to turn. Let yourself be proud of how far you've come. Even if it doesn't look like much on the outside, you know the inner mountains you've moved. That matters. That counts. That's enough. I'll leave you with this. Nothing can delay what's meant for you if you stay aligned with your truth. Not people, not fear, not the past. You are too powerful to be derailed now. Let this discomfort be the evidence that something extraordinary is close. Breathe, soften, and stay open. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. It's no coincidence that you're here at this exact moment, in this exact state of being. You didn't stumble across this message the way someone stumbles over a misplaced stone. No. This found you the way the tide knows exactly when to return to shore. Not rushed, not random, but inevitable. Because something in you, quiet, steady, ancient, has been whispering, it's time. Not time in the way the world measures it, but time in the spiritual sense, the soul sense. Time to remember, time to rise, time to look at the life you've lived and realize that every ache, every delay, every moment you felt invisible was a breadcrumb leading you here. You are not a product of chance. You are the continuation of a sacred design. You've been walking through a season where things feel delicate, like everything you touch is laced with meaning, like even silence holds messages. You've felt it in your bones. That sense that your life is being rearranged from the inside out. And while others may see only the surface, you know the truth. You are under divine construction. They may not notice it, but heaven does. It sees the quiet ways you've held everything together. The moments you said nothing but felt everything. The days you smiled when your heart was somewhere between collapse and resurrection. That wasn't weakness. That was holy endurance. And that's the part they never teach. The sacred strength in staying soft in a world that hardened so many before you. There is something breathtaking happening beneath the surface of your life right now. It's not just healing, it's reordering. Old thoughts that once guided you are crumbling. Patterns that used to feel safe now feel suffocating. And the people who once made sense in your story? You can feel the distance now, not out of bitterness, but because your energy no longer bends to meet what is beneath you. Have you noticed how your spirit no longer tolerates what it once excused? How you can feel dishonesty before it's spoken? How your body reacts when something doesn't align, even before your mind can explain it? That's not overthinking. That's divine intelligence coming online. Because you're not just evolving, you're returning. Returning to the original blueprint, the unfiltered, undiluted version of yourself that existed before fear, before conditioning, before you were taught to shrink. You've always carried this brilliance, this resonance, this spiritual gravity. It's just that now you're finally allowing yourself to wear it without apology. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Of course it is. Transformation never feels like a massage. It feels like breaking your bones in the right direction. But you're doing it. Quietly, powerfully, without permission or applause. You're the one who said enough when the cycles tried to repeat. You're the one who caught yourself mid-pattern, mid-thought, mid-trigger, and chose a different path. Not because it was easy, but because it was sacred. And the ancestors? Oh, they know. There are parts of your soul that remember the prayers whispered into dirt floors, into factory walls, into night skies heavy with disappointment. You were the unspoken request in those prayers, the wild hope they never got to see bloom. And now, here you are, answering the call in ways they couldn't, healing in places they weren't allowed to speak of, feeling what they had to bury in silence. This isn't self-help. This is spiritual resurgence. You are repairing an emotional lineage with every boundary you set, every truth you honor, every moment you refuse to betray yourself for someone else's comfort. So yes, you've felt alone. Yes, you've questioned your place in it all. But have you ever stopped to consider, maybe that ache wasn't loneliness, but the stretching of your spirit making room for your real self? Maybe what you've been calling confusion is actually your soul detoxing from decades of inherited illusions. You were not born to play small roles in other people's distorted stories. You were born to remember, to awaken, to recalibrate the very vibration of your bloodline. Now take a breath, not just for air, but to feel your own presence, because it's time to move differently, not from fear, not from survival, but from soul. Your alignment is no longer negotiable. What you're feeling now isn't just a moment, it's a marker. A quiet yet undeniable realization that you're no longer who you were. That the version of you who once tolerated what drained your spirit is gone. You've started recognizing where your energy flows, and more importantly, where it leaks. You've stopped over-explaining. You've stopped shrinking to keep the peace. That's not attitude, that's alignment. That's what it looks like when someone finally stops carrying what was never theirs to begin with. You've likely felt isolated in your growth. That's because spiritual expansion often feels like loss before it feels like gain. When you no longer match the vibration of your surroundings, your old world starts to loosen its grip, not as punishment, but as preparation. You can't rebuild on ground that was never stable. And let's be honest, you've always been the one who felt things first. You've been the one to sense when the foundation was cracking, even while others kept dancing on it. That's not negativity, that's prophetic vision. That's what it means to see through the surface. Because of that, you've paid a cost, emotional costs, energetic costs. You've outgrown spaces you still loved. You've had to detach from people who felt like home, but acted like cages. You've been the one to leave, not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself in a new language, a spiritual one. Have you noticed? The more you honor your truth, the more life responds. The right words arrive at the right time. The right people find their way into your field. The path that once felt chaotic starts revealing patterns. That's not luck. That's what it looks like when you stop chasing alignment and start embodying it. You don't have to try so hard anymore, because what's meant for you already knows its way. And you? You know there's an in-between state before every major happening in life. So you're finally walking in a rhythm that doesn't exhaust you. It sustains you. You are the kind of person who brings light into rooms without saying a word. You soothe hearts without even realizing it. You remind people what's possible just by being real. Not everyone will say thank you. Not everyone will see the effort it takes to remain soft in a world that hardened others. But it's seen. Oh, it's seen. There are ancestors whose prayers stretched across time just to meet you. And every time you choose grace over fear, truth over comfort, awareness over illusion, you're answering them. You are a walking revolution disguised as a human being. And now it's time to stop questioning the path that chose you. You didn't force your way into this awareness. It unfolded inside you, piece by piece, pattern by pattern. Until one day you realized the burden didn't break you, it built you. So if you've been wondering whether you're doing it right, you are. If you've been waiting for a sign to keep going, this is it. If you've been trying to explain your spiritual path to those who can't meet you there, you can stop now. Your presence is enough. Your healing is enough. Your transformation already speaks volumes. You are not the exile. You are the evidence. You are not the outcast. You are the outcome. And even when your mind questions, your soul remembers you were built for this. The storms weren't random. The delays weren't denial. Every tear watered something sacred. Every silence became a sacred sanctuary. And every piece of the puzzle, yes, even the painful ones, are now coming together in divine alignment. So walk forward, not with fear, but with reverence, for who you are, for what you've become, for the legacy you now carry. You, my friend, are not just healing for yourself. You are rewriting what your future lineage will never have to unlearn. And that is a miracle in motion. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. It's no accident that these words have reached you today. There's something unspoken yet deeply known stirring within you, and this message is the mirror it has been waiting to find. Even now, before a single truth is spoken aloud, something inside of you recognizes this moment as significant. You may not yet know why, but trust that your soul already does. You've always had a sense that your path wasn't shaped like anyone else's. While others walked straight lines, yours twisted through shadows, detours, and silences no one else could understand. And yet, every step of it brought you here. Not to a place of answers necessarily, but to a deeper awareness of something sacred. Something that has always lived inside of you, waiting to be remembered. You are not like most people, and you've known this for longer than you let on. It's not arrogance, it's not detachment, it's recognition. The truth is, you carry something rare, a blueprint coded with silence, vision, and ancient resonance. The world around you often feels like it's moving too fast, filled with noise that your spirit was never meant to absorb. And the more you try to fit into it, the more fragmented you begin to feel. Have you ever walked into a space and instantly felt like the air thickened? Not physically, but spiritually, as if your soul started whispering, "This isn't where I thrive." That's not overthinking. That's not hypersensitivity. That is spiritual precision. It's the deep wisdom of your being alerting you to what your conscious mind hasn't yet named. What if the discomfort you feel around crowds isn't a flaw, but a filter? A sacred mechanism built to protect your energy before you even knew you had any. Because you, my dear friend, don't just feel energy. You absorb it. You process it. You carry it. And too much of the wrong kind can feel like being drowned in someone else's emotions without warning. This isn't about being antisocial. This is about being attuned. There is a difference between avoiding people out of fear and being pulled away from them by purpose. You were never meant to be lost in the crowd. You were meant to remain visible only to those with eyes that can see. There's something deeply holy about the solitude you're drawn to. And no, it's not loneliness in the way most people describe it. It's not the absence of others. It's the presence of yourself. You've been learning how to sit with your own thoughts, to recognize your own rhythms, and to hear the voice of the divine more clearly than ever. That stillness, that inner quiet. It's not emptiness, it's a sacred echo. Your soul recalibrating after too much interference. And isn't it fascinating how certain people get uncomfortable around you, even when you've done nothing but exist? That's the power of unspoken truth. Your presence alone disrupts illusions, not intentionally but effortlessly. And that disruption is threatening to those still hiding behind masks they aren't ready to remove. What if I told you that part of your calling is to make people feel something they've been avoiding? Not with your words, but with your frequency. What if the discomfort you cause is actually the light you radiate? You were never meant to be palatable to those who refuse to taste the truth. You were meant to awaken what sleeps in them, even if it's met with resistance. That resistance is not rejection, it is recognition. Even when their words don't say it, their energy knows who you are. Let that sink in. You are not misunderstood. You are not too intense. You are not imagining things. You are tuned into a wavelength that most people have never even dreamed of. And because of that, you see what others pretend not to see. You feel what they numb themselves to avoid. So if you've ever asked yourself, why does it feel like I'm carrying weight that isn't mine? The answer is, because you are. You've been walking through the world like an open channel, absorbing the storms of others while learning to protect your own flame. And still, you've managed to glow. That is not weakness. That is spiritual strength. There's a reason why your energy cannot be scattered too thin. You weren't built to run on diluted presence. Your soul thrives in purity, in environments that allow it to breathe, observe, and receive. That's why you've been pulled out of rooms that once felt familiar. That's why the invitations have stopped. That's why some people slowly disappeared, leaving behind more silence than closure. But you've grown enough now to see that their absence was never about you being unworthy. It was about your path becoming too sacred for anything misaligned to follow. The people who couldn't walk with you weren't lost. They were filtered out. Because the higher you rise, the narrower the path becomes. And the truth is, not everyone was built for the altitude your soul is now climbing toward. Let that bring you peace, not loneliness. See the isolation you felt? It wasn't designed to break you. It was designed to tune you. Every quiet moment, every closed door, every restless night, it was all part of the divine's architecture. You were being hollowed out, not for emptiness, but to make space for a greater fullness. A clean frequency requires a clean field, and yours is being purified not just for your own sake, but because someone, somewhere, is going to be changed just by encountering the clarity you've cultivated. You won't even need to say a word. Your presence will speak in a language only their soul understands. You've always been a mirror, haven't you? People come near you and suddenly start confronting things they've buried. Sometimes they thank you, sometimes they run. But either way, something shifts. That's because you don't just reflect people. You amplify what's true within them. You make it harder for them to pretend. And that, dear one, is a spiritual power most aren't ready to face. You're not cold for needing space. You're not difficult for requiring silence. You're not strange for protecting your energy like it's the most valuable currency you carry, because it is. You are not here to entertain. You are here to awaken. And awakenings are messy. They disrupt. They strip. They expose. But they also liberate. You've been through enough to understand this. The noise of the world is seductive, but it comes at a cost. And that cost is clarity, peace, divine guidance. That's why your life has been designed to make noise uncomfortable and chaos intolerable. That's not you being sensitive. That's you being called. Think about this. What if the reason the chaos felt unbearable wasn't because you were weak, but because you were never meant to adapt to it in the first place? You weren't created to be immune to dysfunction. You were designed to transform it. And in order to transform something, you must first refuse to become it. So, no, you cannot walk into every room. You cannot keep every connection. You cannot blend in without betraying something sacred within you. That's not failure, that's alignment. The divine is not just protecting you from others, it's protecting your energy for them, those who are meant to receive the truth, healing, and frequency you carry. So, from this moment on, I hope you stop apologizing for needing space. I hope you stop shrinking your light so others don't feel exposed. I hope you realize that the isolation wasn't a delay, but a design, crafted perfectly for someone who was always meant to move differently. Let this message be your permission to exhale. You are not behind. You are being strategically positioned. Your energy is sacred real estate, and the divine is building something on it that requires absolute precision. You are not being hidden to be forgotten. You are being hidden to be fortified. And soon, very soon, you will understand the why behind the waiting. When you emerge, it will not be to prove anyone wrong. It will be to fulfill everything that's been promised to you in silence. And those who are meant to recognize your light will. Without force, without explanation, just by being in your field. So carry this truth like armor. You've been set apart, not pushed aside. You've been refined, not rejected. And what's coming for you has been looking for your energy, not someone else's version of it. You are more powerful, more needed, and more divinely aligned than you realize. Your time is coming, but your soul, it's already arrived. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Something tells me you're here because something in your soul has been quietly preparing you to hear these words. So before anything else, let me ask you this. Are you ready to remember how far you've come and finally see yourself for what you truly are? Because whether you realize it yet or not, you're in the middle of becoming unrecognizable. Not in the surface-level, glow-up kind of way. I'm talking about the deeper transformation, the one that rewrites your essence. That kind of metamorphosis doesn't happen quietly, but it often gets dismissed. And yet, it leaves traces, emotional fingerprints. There are breakthroughs you have to document, or else you'll forget how miraculous your own becoming really was. Let me tell you the truth. The hardest moments of your journey often come right before you cross the finish line of a chapter. That's when the weight feels unbearable. But once you step across that line, every second of struggle will have been worth it. But you need to start capturing it today. Not because you owe anyone a story, but because you're the only one who truly understands how sacred your process has been. You know those moments no one claps for? The nights you whispered affirmations into the dark. The mornings you faced yourself in the mirror and said, "We're not breaking today." The rituals you created without realizing they were rituals. That is your blueprint, and it deserves to be remembered. You're not healing out of chance. You've built a system, one that's as intuitive as it is powerful. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it works. And now it's automatic. The version of you that used to stay down for weeks after a setback, that version doesn't exist anymore. You rise quicker, You respond softer. You burn brighter, and most of the time, no one even sees the fire. But you know. You know the battles you fought silently. You've been crafting your own spiritual technology behind the scenes, like an alchemist who doesn't even realize they've been writing a manual for survival. It's time to stop treating your wisdom like a side note, because what you've built isn't just resilience, it's sacred architecture. It's meant to be shared. And I know, maybe part of you still feels like you're just figuring it out. But hear me on this. The fact that you're still standing, still feeling, still hoping after everything you've endured, that alone is the evidence. The world has no idea how many times you've stitched yourself back together in silence. But you do. And that makes you the authority on your own healing. This next season, you're not just living it, you're leading it. And your process, your affirmations, your energy work, your journaling, your quiet knowing, all of it is more than enough. In fact, it's revolutionary. You don't need credentials to be a vessel. Your experiences have already qualified you, and now it's time to treat them that way. Start keeping track, not just of where you're going, but of how you got here. Write down what you did the last time your world fell apart and you pulled yourself out of the wreckage anyway. Write the prayers you whispered through gritted teeth. Write the moments that didn't make sense but somehow carried you closer to peace. You have no idea how healing it will be. Not just for you, but for others too. And you might be thinking, but I don't want to be anyone's guide. You don't have to be. Just be honest, be raw, be real about how you alchemize pain into power. There is so much medicine in your authenticity. Do you realize that? Because this isn't about telling people how to heal. It's about showing them that healing is possible, that it doesn't have to be perfect, that you don't have to be fully done to be a light. Sometimes the most powerful teachers are the ones who never asked to teach at all. Tell me, what if your story becomes someone else's survival guide? Maybe that feels too big. Maybe you're still trying to wrap your head around the idea that the very thing that nearly broke you is the thing that's about to build something incredible. But that's what makes it powerful. You didn't just learn how to survive, you created a formula, a rhythm, a way through, and no one else could have done it exactly like you. You didn't stumble upon this ability to transmute. You earned it by remembering who you are. You pulled it out from your own chaos. So what if the rituals you created, the visualizations you practiced, the inner rewiring you committed to in silence, what if those things aren't just personal? What if they're sacred transmissions meant to ripple out from you in the exact way you express them? No polish, no performance, just real, resonant, and raw. And please know, you're not just healing anymore. You're creating a legacy of healing, and you don't even need to try. It's in the way you speak now, the way your silence holds weight, the way your presence alone makes people think differently about themselves. You might not even notice it, but people feel you. They notice how your energy lingers in a room long after you've gone. They don't always know what shifted, but they know they feel seen, even if you never said a word. That's the level you're operating at now. You are a walking mirror, a spiritual tuning fork. And that kind of power, it can't be faked. But here's the wildest part. This system you've refined for your own healing, it's not copy-paste. No one else can replicate it. Not really. They can take notes, they can be inspired. But your essence, your arrangement of intuition, creativity, and resilience, that's one of one. No saturation, no competition, no imitation can touch it. You are the blueprint, and that's exactly why the universe chose you to carry it, because you wouldn't exploit it. You'd protect it. You'd nurture it. You'd wait until you knew, in your bones, that it was time. Well, my friend, it's time. You might not know what form it'll take. Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's a soundscape. A poem, a retreat, a whispered conversation over tea. Maybe it's all of those things, or something the world hasn't even imagined yet. What matters is that you don't keep your medicine locked away anymore. Let your heart be the prescription pad. Let your story be the formula. Let the way you survived be your sacred offering. Because whether you realize it or not, the thing you've been building in the dark is about to drop. And when it does, it won't just change your life. It will shift the lives of others in ways you'll never fully see. That's the kind of ripple only a soul like yours could create. So don't wait until everything makes sense. Don't wait until it's perfect. Just start. Capture the details, write the truths, speak the emotions, document the sacred messiness. Because one day soon, someone will hold what you created in their hands, or hear it, or read it, or feel it. And it will do for them what it once did for you. It will save them. And when that moment comes, I want you to remember this one, where you decided to stop hiding your light and start owning your magic. Where you stopped treating your healing like a personal project and started honoring it as a collective gift. You are right on time. And the moment you fully accept what you're carrying, your entire timeline will shift. So go ahead, pick up the pen, open the camera, record your voice, speak the truth. And most of all, never forget who the hell you are. Because this isn't just your next chapter, this is your release. And something tells me, the world's been waiting for it. Now go show them why. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.